Okay, I will officially call this meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission to order. I would like to remind anybody listening that the meeting is being audio and video recorded. At this point, I would like to have an approval of the agenda for this meeting of June 26th. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Nikki, and a second.
A second.
Meryl, thank you very much. Anybody disagreeing with that? Then I will say that it's been approved. At this point, the beginning of the meeting, we typically have public comment. I'm not sure if anybody would like to have any comment on anything. We will move shortly to the applications, but anything else beyond that? Seeing none, I will move to Miss Weatherly, and you can bring forth the two applications that I see we have for tonight.
And Mike, just do roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Before I do that, Dina, I'm going to do a roll call, so if you would each say here or present. We have Nikki Drew,
Present.
Meryl McCluskey,
Here.
Gina O'Callahan,
Here.
and I am Michael Kozort, and Jesse Dutra is not with us this evening.
Right.
Okay, so Miss Weatherly, now it's all yours.
Okay, thanks for having me. So I have two applications today. The first one is an application for the use of Children's Beach Bandstand / park and then water area. The Summer Street Church is applying for an August 3rd date with a rain date of August 10th for a 10:15 to 11:15 a.m. Summer service. There will be live music, and then they would like to use the water area, or I guess I should just say the beach, for a baptism ceremony if any member of this church so chooses. And it's open to the public as well. They're anticipating 75 to 100 attendees.
Wow, that's wonderful. Okay. Charlie, any?
Yeah, is there a water plan, or has this been run by Sheila Lucy, if it's gonna involve the water in the beach area for the lifeguards and everything else?
No, there was not. I saw a similar event last year, but it didn't have one, but I can request one if we'd like to postpone this.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at 75 to 100 people, we should probably have Sheila and the lifeguards weigh in on this.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any comments, questions from any of the commission members?
No, I was going to mention with that many people, should there be lifeguard involvement, but Charlie took that on, so.
Same.
Okay, any other comments from anybody else that would like to weigh in on this event?
I'd like to comment if I could. I'm Derek, and I'm the pastor at Summer Street Church. And we did have this event there last year as well, as you've noted, and went really well. I remember there being 2 lifeguards on duty last year, though, yeah, the water thing did not come up in any of the conversations prior to the event. And this may or may not matter at all, but to clarify, the 75 to 100 people are just people attending the actual sort of main part of the event, if you will. And we anticipate maybe 8, I'm guessing, of those people actually participating in the water bit of that. And so anyway, just to throw that out there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or just sort of take any steps on our part to get you guys whatever else it is that you need.
I appreciate that clarification. I'm sure that we should still be in touch with Sheila.
Yeah, I think my suggestion would be just to hold this until we at least just run it, get a thumbs up from Sheila. And we could bring it up at the next meeting. I would, if we want to, or you could approve.
I would-
Sheila's.
I would rather approve it pending because you never know if we're going to have a
Sure,
quorum at the next meeting, and I think everybody would like to know that it can be done. So I would entertain a motion to approve pending Sheila Lucy weighing in with anything that they may require. Do I have such a motion?
Yes.
Merrill, thank you, and Nikki, a second.
Second it, yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
And we'll do it by a roll
Aye.
call. Nikki,
Yep.
Nikki, Merrill,
Yes.
and Gina. She
Yes.
may have dashed off, there she is, and Mike Kozort, yes,
Excuse me, I see Gina has her hand up. Oh no, that's my hand.
that's your.
That's mine. Sorry.
Okay, I think
That's
we
my
have
first.
unanimous approval, again, pending Sheila weighing in on what she might need for that, and I would guess that Dina will do that.
yeah,
Would
yeah,
that
Sheila
follow?
will communicate.
Great,
Yes, thank you. And Charlie, sorry, I apologize for not looping you in earlier as well.
Of course.
That's-
And
So
then,
has been approved. And,
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
yep, thank you.
Okay, next we have an application for the use of Tom Nevers Field by Mariah Mitchell. We have Amy and Joanna on the line as well. This will be on July 25th from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. for creativity and science event with guest speakers. And it would be at the same spot. It's the next day after the Stargazer Gala, which was approved at the last meeting or the last two meetings. So it would just be utilizing the same tent that would already be up from before.
I think now would be a good time, Amy or Joanna, if you want to add anything to this request.
Sure, we are just trying to make use of the fact that we rented an expensive tent. And the next morning, we have an opportunity. One of the speakers the night before is someone from National Geographic Magazine, and he's gonna do a photography workshop. We're gonna have a writing workshop. And then there's gonna be an art workshop. So we're hoping maybe it'll be, 75 people, maybe we'll get 100 people. I think the only other thing that would be important to mention is that we're hoping to have a food truck there so that there'll be food, but that would be, I think, Island Kitchen, right?
That is something,
I have-
Charlie, that you're gonna have to look into.
Yeah, I'll have to double check the,
Um, There are certain requirements when.
Yep.
Food, yeah,
Yep.
okay, so I think that's something that we would want to clarify now, given that we have July 25th as this request.
my suggestion would be to approve. With condition in the food truck until I can sort out yea or nay, but otherwise the event is. it's in the
Yeah,
same
it's not
location.
dependent on the food truck. If we said no food truck, we would still want to do it anyway.
Okay, great. Amy, anything to add to that?
No, thank you.
Okay. Any commissioners have any questions about this? Okay.
Just curious about how long will it go on? Like what time does it start and end?
9:30 to 11:30.
Perfect. Yeah.
And we have no conflicts other than that?
No, it's using the same setup from the night before.
Right,
So it's a good use of the space since they'll already be set up.
okay, wonderful. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So,
Again, and pending approval of the food as well. But so we're approving the event and the date at this point. A second to that, Meryl or
Yes.
Gina? Thank you. And then we will do a roll call vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Nikki,
Aye.
Meryl,
Aye.
thank you, Gina,
Aye.
thank you, and Mike Kozort, aye. So it is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And people are welcome to stay on or move on as your calendar dictates. So I don't want you to feel like you have to stay through. Thank you, Joanna. All right, at this point, Charlie, we will have your report.
Sure, I know I owe you all an email. Didn't have a chance to get contact out to everybody to do our drive arounds to some
Yeah.
sites, but I do have a good list of projects. To kind of that I'm working on getting pulled together for capital, which is coming up very fast, and then for CPC, which will be in the fall. Do a quick rundown would be, so the Delta Fields, I've been talking to the Nantucket Little League. We're in kind of desperate need of a whole kind of refresher over there. Those fields were built quite some years ago, and a lot of the fencing and backstops are in need of enough repair work that it's worth moving on from repair and probably doing full replacements. Including scoreboards, batting cages, bleachers, that sort of thing. So I'm in the process of building out that project. We'll probably end up taking that one to CPC in the fall with Little League. Some of the other locations I'm looking at is Winter Park. That playground has hung on fantastically for us for 23 years. We actually just put a bunch of swings and stuff in it, and then we're starting to see some structural issues up here, and based on the age of all the structures, as we're getting into structural items, it's probably worth looking at a full replacement. And actually what I'd like to do there is probably double the size of the playground. It's a fairly unutilized park for us as far as town-owned parcels. The current playground is about 6,000 square feet. So talking to one of our vendors, we're gonna pull together some ideas, but try to double the space to about 12,000 and really pack in as much as we can, along with increase the size of the parking lot and possibly squeak in a basketball court in there. It's a fairly packed, good centralized area, neighborhood, a lot of kids in and around there. Give them a place to use. They don't have to necessarily go all the way to the school.
So
That's another option.
I have a question about a basketball court, which I know is needed and would be used, but do we have residences around there that could be impacted by that? And
I'll have to, my plan is to reach out once we get some more, like to get the idea a little more concrete, to reach out. There is an HOA for, I believe it's one side of Essex that has an HOA, so I was gonna reach out to them
okay,
to gain their input, because it could be impactful to the neighborhood if we're gonna double the size of the park.
if you're gonna double the size or are you thinking of lighting at nighttime?
Probably not.
Okay,
That's in the dark, really in the dark sky area. We're gonna light the new, the turf field at Nobody, but there's so much ambient light there between all the commercial space in the airport. That's a better location. This area, it's very, there's a lot of residents and, I think anything past 8 PM in the summer would be a little excessive, and we certainly don't need to keep it lit.
okay,
In the winter, so probably, so no lighting, just, park will be open till dusk as normal. But I think it'd be a good addition to that area.
and are you thinking CPC for the winter park too? Or
Possibly,
just-
or capital. Once I find out, I was talking to Linda Williams about the kind of general amount of money that they get every year. And there's not always the same amount they can get, and there's a certain amount that gets allocated towards parks and open spaces. So there's, cap's not the right word, but there's only a certain amount.
Yeah.
That they would be able to allocate to us. So depending on where, like, the Little League stuff comes in, like you know, just the backstops I was looking at was about 60,000. In replacement there, and then all the other fencing gets pretty expensive.
Will that budget come before this commission, or does that go to Libby? I
For,
suspect, for Parks and Rec, or whatever capital improvements that
I would bring
are going to
things
be
here
suggested.
first for ideas. If we can, I'm not sure what our next meeting is. I have to submit for capital July 18th.
17th, I believe, is the third Thursday.
Well, perfect.
So this will be the general ideas, and then, you know, of course, anything that goes through for capital goes through town admin first with a yay or nay.
Right,
And they will then
And then
decide
FinCom.
what to push forward into the capital program committee.
okay.
You know, we didn't put anything big in really this past year. Did put anything into CPC, you know, as we had some projects floating. So now this is, this, I think Winter Park would be a good one. Also possibly Tom Nevers. Getting a quote put together to revamp the old hockey rink.
Right.
Finally, somebody to actually get back to me about it. I've been chasing that one for a while, to kind of do the same thing we did with the tennis courts. We did grind it in place, do a post tension concrete, or bring back 4 basketball hoops that some people are using out there, and then enclose it with a new fence and have the bottom of the fence be solid. So that if people want to play street hockey out there, they still could. And then probably cross line in there, either a tennis court with a mobile net, or, you know, pickleball. With mobile nets that can be slid out of the way. We're seeing a lot of use of the pickle courts down at Jetties. That's been great.
Awesome.
Can I just add that last year CPC applications were due on the first Friday in September? So it's a aggressive
Certainly.
timeframe or, schedule.
Yeah.
It's not posted on the website, but it was the first Friday last year of September.
Yeah, that's what Linda said.
And those applications are extensive.
Yeah. It's, in the words, it's funny though, I did one for cemetery commission, and that was
Okay.
about 100 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the examples that they sent me of previous ones for Parks and Rec were actually, from the Jimmy Manchester days, were a lot shorter. It was kind of like, hi, I'm Jimmy, I need some money. So I'm hoping I'm charming enough that I can pull that off.
Nantucket,
Maybe I'll have something in between.
Nantucket was a different place and time back then, but good luck with that.
Yeah.
And charm only goes so far. Not that I'm doubting you.
Yeah. But, so that is, those are kind of the things I'm working on for projects wise. Otherwise, the new playground structure in Tom Nevers is finally complete, up and running and open. So you got people with younger kids who are finding a spot that they're finding, you know, some of the other playgrounds are a little busier. Go out and check out Tom Nevers. It's got shade cloth structures on it, which has been great. I was watching, one mother out there, we've got cameras on the parks and stuff now, and she was moving her chair to stay in the shade as the kids were running around on the playground, so.
Have we taken an opportunity really to publicize that?
It's upcoming. It just got finished. DPW just finalized, yesterday, getting the sand redistributed underneath it. So we could officially open, and, I was on the phone with Jess Davis in the communications department today
Okay, good.
about it, so she'll be out there at some point, taking some pictures to publicly.
Yeah,
announce
get
it.
them out to social media.
Yep.
And in the newspaper, I think that's.
We'll go.
There is people out there who don't even know
Yeah,
that they're ready to be used.
so it's open. We also, last month installed a basketball hoop over at Nobody Farm
Great.
at the fields, which is great, you know, so hopefully people will find that. They're gonna do a little press release on that as well. We also installed over at Nobody 2 new solar benches, which have charging points for phones, with a solar cell on the back. So you can bring your own cable and their USB ports to plug in, or on one side of the bench, there's a dock for the MagSafe charging.
Wow, we fancy. That's great.
Yeah, you know, we'll see how, I figured Nobody was a good place to put them. Let's get a lot of use.
Yeah,
And if it takes off, you know, they're simple green benches. You know, you wouldn't know there's anything special, except it does have a solar cell strip across the back.
I'm smiling because it's sort of contrary to the direction that we're trying to go in the schools. Cutting back on the use of technology, and here we are providing it to the adults. So that when they're watching their children, they can have their heads down on their devices, but.
Well, I did laugh a little bit as we were installing these, and then just a month ago, we were installing new locks and metal cases over the outlets on the bandstand.
Yeah.
To try to limit the number of kids piling up there at night. Because that's been an issue
Yeah.
with, you know, but we've got Patina who does yoga in the morning, she shows up and the bandstand's just a mess because there's been 500 kids there trying to charge their phones and everything else, so our deterrent there,
We've had that problem for years.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully by having, you know, they had plastic cases on them before, which were all smashed off, so we switched over to metal. So hopefully that'll deter them to congregate elsewhere.
Well, have we looped in the police department that we're starting to see an uptick in problems there?
We had last year, but worked with, blank,
Rebecca,
Officer Mann?
Stacy,
No.
no, Stacy Navi, but no, just
Rebecca.
retired. Police
Rebecca,
department.
oh, Officer Mack.
Yes, Officer Mack, he will have to find out who the new Officer Mack is gonna be, because he was coordinating with CSOs in the bike, patrol last summer to go down there if they saw a big crowd to kind of urge them
Diffuse.
to disperse. We also have new cameras there, so hopefully that's serving as a little bit of a deterrent. That's quite so many people trying to climb on top of the, you know, bandstand and that sort of thing, so kids will be kids.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. What about the fields?
Everything's going well in the fields, we're looking good. We've got, we're on a new contract with Mertile Landscaping. We are progressing with the Nobody Your Field project, we are, and the plans are being almost in draft form, 100% for that. We're working on getting the new irrigation specs pulled together. Location for an additional well.
I read with interest the fact that the land bank may be reconsidering their vote. I think it was an amendment on indoor recreation, and not sure where that's going to go, but I would like to publicly express my appreciation for their reconsideration of that. I think indoor recreation is a serious need for our children on the island.
I joined the meeting on Tuesday and spoke in favor of,
I saw that, Nikki,
Having
thank you.
so of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I joined Parks and Rec, to get this done,
Yeah.
right? Recreation,
Well, there's some good things in the works, so
definitely.
I think that's terrific. Anything else, Joe?
I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing I would report on, I guess, is the Tom Nevers, the beach debris project is still moving at a glacial pace as we're dealing with federal governments and 9 permitting agencies.
Yeah.
But I finally got a copy of those plans, which are almost out of draft form, which is great news. So hopefully we're trying to find the best way to file for these permitting agencies. It's, we were gonna originally try to file under an emergency situation, but the amount of time the emergency permit would give us wouldn't cover the amount of time we would need to do all the procurement aspect side of this because of the dollar value involved. So we're still working on the best way to present this to the permitting agencies to move this forward as fast as possible, but our hope is that in November, we'd be able to start getting the stuff off the beach. A little later than we anticipated, but once we get through permitting, the procurement phase of something of this size will take a bit. You know, it'll have to be posted probably 6 to 8 weeks of posting, submissions, review, until we finally are able to award. So it'll be a big project, but once we get it done, we hope to have a beach access that could then be utilized by the DPW as smaller bits of debris appear, such as the road, you know, if we lose a couple more feet in the storm, some asphalt falls, instead of having to go through and hire a big contractor, it'll just be small debris, and we'll have an access point that the DPW will be able to get down and remove stuff.
Okay,
So it's a big, this will be probably end up being a big multi-year project. But, you know, beach cleanup phase 1, and then getting the rest of the stuff that's buried in the ground up there is phase 2, but we are progressing. It's just,
Great. Great.
Once we get through the federal government, hopefully we can get a little bit of a better head of steam.
okay, that's great. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
No questions from me. No, I just want to say Tom Nevis does look amazing. I was just down there the day before yesterday, and one of my questions was going to ask when it was opening. I could see it was close, but yeah, but it looks awesome down there. The grass looks great. I mean, everything that's been done, I think in the space of a year is quite incredible. So kudos to you, Charlie, and the DPW and getting all of that done. Honestly, it's amazing. So thank you.
So shortly we'll have a bike path. They were out,
Okay.
Drew, DPW director, was out there today measuring a couple final trees that they're trying to figure out if they're gonna go around or remove, and it'll be exciting to have a bike path out there.
Yeah,
So,
that'll be
finishing at the park.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think if more we can get people out there to realize it's there and then utilize it, it'll be great.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Good space for us.
Well, thank you for that work. Let's see, Meryl or Gina, anything to add?
No, I think
Okay,
that's great. Super thorough, Charlie, and yeah.
I was just gonna ask if you don't mind.
I
How
agree.
how are the new tennis courts being,
used.
embraced, I guess?
Nothing but positive feedback.
Excellent.
We had a couple of, I'll say, professional pickleballers. Who were a little cranky until we get the windscreens up. But the windscreens,
Somebody my age.
the report I got from Tina, the tennis loft, she just said it was a professional pickleballer who's there in the mornings. So we got most of the windscreens up. We decided we changed our configuration, ordered a few more. They just arrived, so we should have all the windscreens up, hopefully Monday afternoon. But everything so far is going great. People have figured out the reservation system. They figured out how to move the pickleball courts to and from the shared, tennis court 5. We had one double booking because the computer software didn't pick up that somebody had already booked a pickleball court and allowed the tennis court to be booked at the same time, but we've got that bug sorted out quick. So far it's been excellent.
Great.
I have a quick little story that I think you'll appreciate, because before I came down in 2010 to be superintendent, I was reading the newspapers and watching what was going on the island. And the biggest controversy was when they tried to turn the temperature to the pool down by 2 degrees. And the seniors, of which I am one now, I guess raised havoc over that. So, you're not alone.
Yeah, if that's the only complaint I have,
Exactly.
that we're able to remedy, I'll take it.
Because the pool is too hot if you're, it's too hot.
Well, I'm just not sure that everybody would agree with you, but I would concur.
It gets used for many different things besides just swimming laps, so it has to please a lot of people.
That's right. Okay, I think we're good to go. I'll entertain a motion.
Oh, we got one other.
You have one other? I
We
thought you were
got
finished.
positivity here, and I'm gonna have Amy
Right.
Baxter lead us in for this.
I have a brief handout too that
Okay.
might be helpful.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Thank you.
We could have put them up front.
I actually did include that in the commissioner's packet, and it's also available
Yeah.
online, the picture, so.
Great, thank
It
you.
got out.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Those that might not know me, I'm the licensing administrator for licensing and permits, business licenses, liquor on down over here at the police department. And I wanted to kind of just briefly, before you hear from the applicant, explain to you how we got here and what you're being asked to do. So Rebecca McCrensky reached out to us about a business license or through the transient vendor bylaw. So Chapter 107 covers transient vendors, mobile vendors going place to place from fixed or mobile items, and that also covers hawker peddlers in Chapter 107 that allows for licensing through the select board for these types of activities. Now, we had not had anything that I haven't, at least in my 10 or 15 years here, ever licensed anything under this specifically. It's a general bylaw, and we didn't have any history of it. So I spoke with legal and with town administration on this as well to explain it. And there's several ways to kind of look at it. Someone can certainly be licensed under the state hawker peddler, but they're always going to need, obviously, property owner approval. The other response, we also said to Ms. McCrensky, for some of the locations are not town owned, obviously. Land Bank owns Cisco and several beaches. They can certainly request this type of activity there. So we're just looking for property approval, and if there's any locations that Parks and Rec would recommend. So they are asking for, and again, I'll have her go through the details of what they'd like to do, is looking to seek a license, this type of license or approval for the property owners to sell dog treats from a mobile cart around town, which I believe she showed you photos of. It can explain that as well. So when I went through this with legal, the town administration asked that we first go to Parks and Rec and have you kind of take a look at this, not only specifically this business plan, but what I usually would tell the select board in this case, when I don't have a precedent, is it is a precedent decision. And for them specifically, we have to think of the whole. Approving something like this, they're going to have to determine, all the things that might come as well, other businesses that would like to do the same thing. So our legal advice was also that the select board may adopt policies and regulations to be more specific about where this is allowed. And we'll take that up over the winter. So getting to kind of what we're asking you to consider is this type of application, again, the specific application that they're asking for. And then also this type of retail mobile business at our parks and beaches that this may apply to. The other response I also gave in this as well is understanding our three main areas that we have concession contracts on: children's, Surfside, and jetties. We certainly would never license anything on top of those. So in those areas, I certainly recommend they work with the concessionaire if they wish to have additional these items that they're selling there as well. So what we're asking you to consider is this type of activity at Parks and Recs that you oversee, if this is something you would recommend, and the select board will take any, comments, conditions, or recommendations that you may have. So I'll try to leave it there, not get too into legal, but I'll stand by here. Any questions about process or licensing, I'm here to answer those. And I just want to leave it to the applicant to explain.
Thanks, Amy. Oh, did you want to?
Yeah, just, I want to be clear. So we're not being asked to approve. We're being asked whether we would recommend this to the select board. Is that correct, Amy?
I would say that's correct. The bylaw allows for the select board to license such an activity. But again, it is property owner approval in a sense. So if this is something you would approve, but they would have to ultimately hear and license it. So it would be your recommendation, but they would have the final approval and issue any conditions on such a thing.
Okay, so I'll turn it over to you at this point.
Yeah, I think we see this operating, it's similar to a food truck, but essentially targeted for dogs instead of humans. But same idea. I mean, it would be like it's a 40-inch, very small cart with a bicycle wheel. So I mean, something like this you might have seen out here in 1890. It's gonna be, it's a classic wheel cart. And similarly, to our store in town, these are the treats. We thought it might be cool for you to see them. They're, made by a couple in Maine for us. We only sell, products that are made in the USA. All of the products that we sell in our store are made in Massachusetts. We have our own little factory, so we truly believe in keeping things, local and authentic, and we believe that's an expansion of what we're already doing. And we think it's an underserved market. I mean, yesterday it was 92 degrees, and if you're at the beach, there's nowhere to get water for dogs. We would provide free water at the cart. And we'd also provide free poop bags, because unfortunately I've stepped in dog poop before at the beach. So we thought those could be kind of two services that we could plug into this that would actually help the parks. And then I think another point I have on here is that we also believe in investing our time in training young people. And I think, you know, short of a lemonade stand here, kids don't have a lot of opportunity to kind of have ownership of something. And we would have, like local high school students, and college students running this, so they get to learn something and like see the numbers and hopefully get an entrepreneurship bug. And I think part of that is like having the opportunity to do things like that. Sorry, go ahead, James.
I think a couple of things that would make this uniquely nice for Nantucket is the fact that people can bring their dogs to the beach. You know, year round without restriction, you know, other than leash law. But having the services like the water as well as the poop bag holders can make that a more pleasant experience for everyone. For the dogs as well as people that don't have dogs and you know, find that someone might have forgotten a poop bag on the lawn.
Right.
Yeah, I think at the bottom there, I listed, you know, we were interested in jetties and children's and Surfside. I know, Amy mentioned there are concessions there. I don't know if we can be creative with, you know, I'm assuming the concession is limited to like a very specific area of those. I mean, I know jetties is a pretty expansive area. We certainly wouldn't have to be on the concessions premises. I mean, we're willing to kind of, you know, work with you to think where it would make the most sense, in terms of like locations in those areas, so that we wouldn't be, offending the concessions, in any way. Or I mean, if you have other suggestions, we're certainly opening to listening to that.
Charlie?
Sure. So as far as the concessions for jetties, children to serve, so we wouldn't, like, I had to tell, someone who called up, wanted their kids to set up, let me know, a lemonade stand,
Yeah.
you know, near Children's Beach, and we've got concessionaires who pay the town,
Right.
you know, a lot of money to set up. So my recommendation for those places would be to reach out to those, and maybe you could, you know, work with them to sell the products specifically at those beaches. We just, you know, there would be a competing interest. You know, like we've had people do events there, wanted to bring in someone to do just a hot dog cart.
Yeah.
At Children's Beach, and we typically say no to that because there's a concessionaire
Okay,
that's right there. We asked them to work with a concessionaire for their event.
sure.
So on those, that would be my recommendation, would be to work with them, and I think it's a great idea, great branding, and this and that. Were there any other town locations? I first one that pops in my head would be like the dog park
Land bank.
with the land bank.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other question, would this be mobile? Like, would it be moved like by a bike, or would it be more like a permanent?
Yeah, so
Setup.
yeah, it folds in and then you could put it in the back of a car. It literally like the sides fold in and then you would put it in the back of a truck, like and
Gotcha.
drive.
Yeah,
it.
I look at it and I think of like a New York hot dog cart.
Yeah,
You know,
totally,
and when
yeah.
you're saying kids, it's like, oh, like it's just like hook onto the back of a bike, and it's like, they're kind of making mobile rounds where it's like,
Yeah.
well, they could be at like. You know, if I mean, Cisco Beach would be another great one, but that would be also land bank, but if they were
Okay.
like at Cisco from. You know, in the morning, and then they were at the dog park in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
stuff like that, and find a niche place where I'm sure after like a month, they'd be like, all right. I need to be at Cisco Beach at 9 AM.
Sure,
That's a great
exactly.
time, but the dog park's really hot at, you know,
Noon,
at 3
yeah.
o'clock in the afternoon, but. Everybody's kind of dead in the middle of the day because
Yeah.
it's just hot and people put their dogs, leave the
yeah,
dogs inside.
yeah. Is there, in terms of like the land bank, it would be like a similar kind of hearing process as this to kind of go through them?
Yeah, it's like, so the food truck, the only food truck now that operates for Cisco is the hot dog, and they go and they talk to the land bank licenses them.
Okay,
To
Yeah.
do that.
okay,
you know, that would be my recommendation for those specific beaches. Same thing, like if you wanted to do Novadear Beach, that actually gets to the airport commission.
Okay,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're the ones that do it's like,
Yeah.
the surf schools there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they talk to the airport and the airport licenses.
in town on Easy Street, you know, the small part, where like,
Redid it.
it's like where they have the Christmas story and stuff in down, like, is
Land
that
Bank.
what you make too? Cause I thought that would be another spot where it's like hot and people have been walking, the dogs might need
Yeah.
water, that kind of thing.
Nine times out of 10, it's Lane Bank.
Okay.
Okay.
I wish it was us.
Yeah,
But they've got a lot of the good parks.
okay.
Okay,
I think it's a wonderful idea and, you know, you're ahead of the curve, at least here.
Yeah,
On that and talking to the vendors at Jetties and Surfside and Children's, all three would be,
I have no doubt that Abby
Yeah.
and Stacy will be on board.
yeah, I'm sure they would.
and are Abby and Stacy, are they the concessions owners at?
They've got the concessions for Children's and Surfside.
Okay,
okay.
They're both wonderful, they'll be
Okay.
certainly on board.
is there any way you could share their contact or? should
Oh,
I just
yeah, I
go
can-
to-
I can
Oh,
send
that'd be
you-
amazing, thank you.
I'll get your email address before you leave, and
Thank you so
I'll
much.
forward their contact, and I can get you George's contract from Jetties.
Awesome.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
that'd be
much.
very
That's a big
helpful. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Commissioners, any questions from anybody? Jean?
I think it's a wonderful idea. And having 2 dogs myself, are you kidding? That's a great thing to do. Good for you. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meryl or Gina, anything?
I have to say, I agree as well. Maybe I can just ask Amy about the peddler's license. Does that, you were talking precedent, and maybe this is a select board, maybe they'll help define this better, but if it is in fact granted, does that open up this wide to people traversing the beaches on foot and pedaling to beachgoers?
Yes, that's, I think something that's always a concern is once you say yes to one thing, it's not necessarily about that one yes, it's about everything that comes after that. I mean, I get it constantly all day long, different things. Obviously downtown's easy. We already specify that, with display of wares that we don't do it on downtown streets, but legally we've been, it's requested or suggested that we adopt policies or regulations that would restrict certain areas or be more specific. So I think this will lead to that, so that we make sure that we're specific on that. So they could say, if they do say yes to this through chapter 107, that they do so, and that would be on the select board to put conditions and such, so that things that come later, specifically where, you know, this would operate, that certain places on the sand are not going to be used for any retail sales, things of that sort. It would be on the select board to enact those types of specifications. So I would take your recommendation and then tell the select board that they would have to apply those kind of conditions if they saw fit. So does that
Okay.
answer?
Yes.
I
no,
have
I
one
think it's great.
question. To kind of tag on that, if we were to get buy-in from the concessions holders and we're on the premise of the concession, would we then circumvent all that, the requirement to go to the select board then? Because they would essentially be hosting us as like a pop-up, or?
Yeah, as long as it's not anything that would be, their contracts are posted online, the concession contracts, we do that through procurement law. So those specific contracts are posted on the website. So as long, yeah, it's nothing that's, you know, against anything, any conditions in their contracts, I don't see that to be an issue. If within their premises and stuff like that, certain things, like I know with Jetties, the board very specifically said no to a food truck or something else, but that was for other reasons. So as long as it doesn't conflict with anything in that contract.
Okay,
No, yeah, because they do a bunch of things, the chairs, stuff like that, things that people might need, so it might work.
okay,
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
I think I just think a great place, and you'd have to talk to the Conservation Foundation, maybe the Cranberry Bogs. It's an
Okay.
extremely popular place for people to walk dog.
Yeah,
And there's a central park, there's a parking area right there, that'd be a great place
Yeah.
to, you know, for water treats, poop, all these things,
Yeah.
for people head out on,
Yeah,
Sure.
on the Mid-Island Trails, that would be like a fantastic place to talk to,
cool.
to talk to.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
idea too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that we have to actually take a vote, but I would like a sense of the board. And, you know, like to hear from each of you whether this is something that you would like to have us recommend to the select board. Nikki?
I think it's a great idea, and you know what? In tune with exactly what Gina said, it definitely has to be more specific. And Amy, obviously, you're on top of that with the town lawyer and stuff. And if we can be specific and it doesn't, you know, go crazy, then I do think it's a wonderful thing to do. So that would be my thought on it.
Thank you. Meryl?
Yeah, I mean, that's my only concern is just opening the door to a lot of other people, because there's plenty of other people that want to sell their wares and whatnot. But yeah, sounds like that's being looked after, and it's not human food necessarily, so it's definitely like a niche market.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, the idea itself is great.
Gina?
Yep, I agree completely. As long as there are concerns about the conditions are, you know, given to the select board, I think it's an awesome idea.
Okay. Do we need anything further than that, Maureen, at this point?
Do you need anything more than that from us, Amy?
I don't think so. No, I appreciate the conversation, because I think what I would take is that this specific idea does address something that people need, the animals need at those locations. And as long as we kind of take a look at it and are specific about things that wouldn't fit at those locations and not wanting to put all these things on the beaches. I think we all agree, want to keep the beaches for the public and not, but this would be something that would be an asset. So that's kind of, the specific idea is good, as long as we take a look at the big picture as well, is what I took from that.
Great, thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for
Appreciate your time.
Thanks for setting it up, Amy.
Thank you.
So no beach massages.
One,
Or hair braiding.
Charlie, why
Was
have
that-
you, Charlie?
that-
Can I tell you one thing?
I think we were just being set up for that. Which is what you really wanted.
Oh, I've gotten that application. Trust me when I tell you I have a stack. Charlie, while I have you here, since you mentioned the tennis courts, while I have it in my head, our discussion earlier, we did
Yes.
last year back up the command center next to on the driveway, and we'll do it again. It worked fine. So we're all good.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, so at this point, I think I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And
I
thank you, Meryl. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And I think we are
Aye.
unanimous in that. Thank you. And thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
very much. Tuesday
Thanks,
time,
guys. Nice
Good luck
job.
with that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Interesting. You will